Welcome to the Child Care Genius Podcast, the world's leading authority on child care marketing, mindset, expansion, and profitability. Our host, Brian Duprey, is the world's most sought-after child care coach, having helped tens of thousands of child care owners from around the globe take their business to the next level. Let's welcome to the Child Care Genius Podcast, our host, Brian Duprey.
Hi, thank you for tuning into the Child Care Genius Podcast Training Series. I'm Brian Duprey. I'm the host of this series, and I am with Michael Braswell, Vice President of Coaching at Child Care Genius. How you doing, Michael?
I'm doing amazing. How are you?
Good. Welcome back to the Child Care Genius Training Podcast. Good to have your expertise with us today.
It's good to be here.
All right, we're going to talk today about debt pay down strategies. And debt can be a good thing, and debt can be a bad thing. And people who were listening to me said, Brian just said debt could be a good thing. And I used to be very anti-debt. And boy, did that cost me a lot of money. I got a smart wife who told me that, you could leverage other people's money and make a whole lot of money doing it. It's going to be a whole different conversation for us down the road about using real estate and leveraging other people's money. But today we're going to talk about paying down debt. So, Michael, you have a really unique strategy that you learned. I think you learned it from Dave Ramsey, if I'm not mistaken. Talk about the strategy. Like if you have a client that has credit card debt and maybe some secured or unsecured debt, varying interest rates and varying amounts in several different formats, how would you recommend they pay that down?
Basically, borrowing from, I followed the Dave Ramsey baby steps, on our personal finances before we were even business owners. But doing that allowed us to become business owners. So the way that we calculate it out is you pretty much take all of your debts and list them out. Like with me, I built a spreadsheet because I wanted to see the acceleration of the debt pay down, and I wanted to see how it would go so I could actually figure it out to say, you know what, if we follow this plan, I will be out of debt in 2 years or 3 years. I could actually see the light at the end of the tunnel. So it all starts with basically listing out all of your debts and make sure that you list the lowest debt first. It does regardless of interest rate. And then that way, say that debt has a $300 payment, and you're making the minimum payments on everything else. So you just have that $300 payment, you paid off that debt, you take that 300, now you add that to the next debt that you have. So now you're accelerating that payment. So then it just completely speeds up and accelerates. And then you take that, once that one's paid off, you add it to the third. Before you know it, you're out of debt. And the biggest thing is, debt just, when you really look at it, it just steals money from you. It makes it to where you can never be wealthy if you're always paying interest.
And the interest on credit cards today are insanely stupid level.
Yeah,
I've seen 29, even 19, anything over 12% is crazy interest rates to pay. So if you have revolving credit card debt, we need to get you a plan because you will never pay it off. If you just pay the minimum, if you read the credit card statement, it says, if you only pay the minimum, it'll take you 28 years to pay off your balance. Read the darn statement. It in plain white, Congress has made them tell you the truth of how long it'll be to pay that off. 28 years, and you'll pay like 100 times in interest what you would have. The cheeseburger you charge will cost you $132 when all is said and done. It is not the smartest way to do. Only in an emergency should you ever charge something that you don't pay off at the end of the month. And when you pay it off at the end of the month in the grace period, there is no interest. It's zero. I charge hundreds of thousands of dollars on credit cards every year and pay them off every month. And I haven't paid a dime of interest in 12 years. Yep. Credit cards, that's a smart way to use debt to get points and rewards. That's a whole nother call that we're going to do. All right. So I like this strategy, Michael, but that strategy does not work if you're only paying the minimum, does it?
No, you have to find a different way to accelerate your first payment as well. Because if you're just paying the minimum off, it's just it'll stagnate. And just like everything, they want their money out of it, but you want to be able to pay off as much as you can. So what we did is we just looked around. It's the same principles. It's like what can we sell? What can we get rid of? What can we, what can we sacrifice? Like for Mandy and I, we sacrificed vacations. I mean, you've sacrificed vacations for a couple of years. You'd be surprised how much you can amass and pay off all your debt. So we had to go through 2 or 3 years of just nothing, but now we can go on vacation anytime we want. So it's like it's just a paradigm shift.
Okay, so that is not sacrifice. I call that delayed gratification.
Yes,
You're delaying the gratification. And that's why I'd like you to think about it. You don't have to sacrifice anything. It's like layaway. The old days where you give money every week to something new product and you don't get it till the end. That is how it was done in my generation, the early days. Now everybody wants instant. They want to charge something, pay it now, and make payments later on and get it today because they have to have it today. Well, I need you to have that mindset differently, that layaway mentality where the vacation you take in 3 years, you don't take it now and put it on a card. You save for it and then you do it 3 years from now. It's a guarantee. A vacation that's paid for is a lot more enjoyable than one that you come home and have to pay for the next 3 years.
Yeah. That's like, curriculum's not cheap. So when we decided to, upgrade our curriculum at the center, I mean, that was something that we actually, we took parent volunteers, some parents volunteered, to contribute to the new curriculum. And then we just, over months set aside a certain amount until we had the amount and then paid it. We do have the credit card because, we take advantage of the miles and, the benefits. And so, however, we, like you said, we pay it off every month so we don't pay a dime in interest. Now, one mistake that I didn't do is I didn't have it on auto pay. And so one time I actually missed, and it was, all of a sudden it popped up. It was like $224 in interest that month.
Yes.
I was like, what? So for me, not having it in auto pay was like 224. Because if you think about it, we charge thousands in a month period, and I've never had to pay interest on it. So I had no clue. Well, I think I was on vacation or something happened. I missed that normal time when I pay my bills. And it's just as quick as that, that interest just keeps going. And then that's how people get in trouble sometimes too. Is because then it just keeps building on itself and they can never catch up.
Boy, did that bother you, that $224?
Oh, it really did.
I know the feeling. It's happened to me. And here's what happened to me once is so I always had to pay on the statement due date. And one time I think it was like $25,000 I owed for a credit card payment because I paid off every month. And I had something else come out and it wasn't in there. I never know how much is coming out. So I try to keep a certain balance. And it didn't go through.
Yep.
And of course, I got an alert and then I transferred the money. Well, it was too late because that happened. All of a sudden now $500 in interest shows up. Yep. So now what I've done, and here's a good tip for you out there, set your statement payday so your bill pays 4 or 5 days before your statement due date.
Yes.
And then if there's ever a problem with your balance, you have enough time to get it through before the end cutoff and you won't get charged that interest. So I learned that the hard way, but now I adjusted all my cards that I had with there. So any other strategies when it comes to debt pay down, Michael?
Just making sure that you don't keep accumulating debt. So I like you said, delayed gratification. If you can't get it right now, there's no use going into debt and because you're putting your business and yourself in a precarious situation. So it's you want to be able to, like we've always said, cash is king, So whether you need a new playground, well, it may have to wait, but just always be conscientious of that.
Yeah. Now, if you're in a hole, stop digging. That's the first rule of thumb when you're in trouble in digging. And you don't have to have new. Used will work. You don't buy a new bus for your school when a used one will suffice.
Right.
And there are certain instances where borrowing is okay. If a lot of people can't come up with $100,000 for a new bus in your school. It's okay. But can you buy it for 50 used? And yes, you could finance that. But it's better to get a strategy of putting money away for future use. Like if you did buy one, put money away extra month so the next time you need it, you have it. And like I haven't borrowed for a car. Like I haven't paid a car payment, I think in like 10 years maybe. Yeah. And I just put money away every month. When I need a car, there's the money for the car. So it's just, if I can't pay cash for it, in my mind, I can't afford it.
Yep.
And so it's a different philosophy. But some people out there are driving a car that's equivalent to 1 year of their income. Some of your teachers, They're driving this 1 year's
Yes.
worth of salary in their car. I mean, my car, which is not a cheap car, represents like 2 weeks' salary for me. That'd be like a teacher driving something that costs $300.
Oh yeah.
Everything's relative, I guess, but it's insane to me what people think they have to have today. My first car was a piece of crap, but it got me where I needed to go, and it cost me $500. My teacher needs to have a $20,000 or $30,000 car. It's beyond me when you're only making $30,000 a year. You should be driving a used $5,000 or $6,000 car that gets you back and forth. That's just the way I think. And what my daughter does at our school, she gives our teachers financial advice. Like she does
Nice.
Dave Ramsey herself. So she teaches our teachers how to be good with their money, and otherwise they're not complaining about it. So again, be mindful of that debt. Keep an eye on it. Don't pay down low interest debt. Like if you
Yes.
have a 3% home mortgage, please don't pay that off early. That's like free money.
Yeah.
You save the cash. Don't pay that down. If the home 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 mortgages are probably the one thing you don't want to pay down if you have that stupidly low 2 or 3% money. Save your money and pay it down. Now, let's just say, Michael, they're in trouble. And I have a center owner right now that I'm working with. She just went out. She needed money. So she went out and got a $50,000 one to help her with payroll because she had summer enrollment drop. And I forget who she got it to, but it's like 12 or 14% interest.
It's high.
Scary how much in. And remember now, you made payroll, and all of a sudden now you got to pay that for the next 2 or 3 years for that one payroll in there. So there's a better strategy out there if you have to borrow. Home equity, business equity is your
Yes.
number one lowest interest rate. Have you heard of a HELOC before? Home equity line of credit.
I've not used one, but I've heard of it, and I know that it's available if I ever need to tap into it.
It's there. And the good thing about home prices inflating is a lot of people are sitting on home equity. If they bought a house over 5 years ago, they're sitting on probably 40% equity that wasn't there 5 years ago. So that is a place to go tap into an emergency at reasonable interest rates. We're filming this episode in 2024, in the middle of 2024. So interest rates are hovering around 7%. My home equity line of credit, which I just closed because I don't need it anymore. I got plenty enough assets in there. It was at 7.5 or something like that when I closed it. But it's reasonable. It's usually prime +2, so it's the best debt you can get out there. It's secured. Your business equity, you could do the same thing with that. So if you have to go tap a place, don't go to these unsecured, high interest. Do not take a loan advance on your credit card. That's like the worst because that's the highest interest rate. They charge fees. They charge 3% like transaction fee on that. They fee you to death, and it's the worst thing to do.
And I'm not a big fan of borrowing against your retirement, but you always have that option as well.
And that's a lower interest rate too. Yeah, I hate to do that, but that's like the last option. And I gotta admit, 20 years ago, we hit times where we had to, borrow money, take money out of retirement accounts. And pay penalties just to help with payroll during the '07 recession. I remember that. That was 18 years ago, but I remember that was a tough financial time when the state was cutting reimbursements and you had to make tough decisions. So I've been there, but I also knew that I wanted to stay away from those high interest credit cards, and thankfully I did. But I had to go in and get retirement account money, which is not there for me now. If I would have kept it in there, it would be worth a lot more in there. So again, it's strategy. But the secret is to stop digging if you're already in debt. Get a strategy, put it together as a spreadsheet. If we can help you out in any way, reach out, brian@childcaregenius.com. Let me know your situation. I'll see if I can help you out in any way. Anything else to add, Michael?
No, I was basically also going to say that if you are in that situation, you need to make sure that you're analyzing your spending as well. Make sure that, not even so much as like, yeah, don't keep digging your hole, but at the same time, look at certain things. There may be costs that you're paying that you can just completely eliminate. So, just make sure that you're looking at everything that you're spending.
That's a good rule of thumb. Or you still have that? You still use Netflix? How about that gym membership that you haven't
Yes.
used? Are you still getting billed? All you do is print out a credit card statement like every 3 months and just look at every charge and say, do I still use that? Do I still use that? Can I cut that? How about negotiating with your copy person, negotiate leases, renegotiate every 2 years, bring down your costs. So then you don't have to borrow. Maybe you'll have extra money. And by doing all those things, maybe it gives you $500 extra a month that you could throw on that high interest credit card.
Oh yeah.
And it's just tool. And I tell you, once, I've done this with a few different people, is put together a debt reduction strategy. Once you start paying off, it gets exciting. You pay up. And I use this, I have mortgages on several of my properties that I own. So I'm not opposed to debt. It's all 4% money. So it's not really high interest stuff. But I have a debt pay down strategy. I paid the lowest balance first, just like Michael talks about. And I'm excited when I paid off mortgage. I paid off 13 different mortgages in the last 10 years of buildings. And whenever I pay one off and they send me that release of mortgage, it's exciting to know that, that equity is there if I ever need it. But that's also a future asset for my grandchildren and great-grandchildren with no mortgage on it, and I have passive income coming in. So that's exciting at my end. And we'll talk about that in a future episode about how to use real estate and diversify. So thank you so much for tuning into the Child Care Genius podcast. If we can help you, go to childcaregenius.com/resources. We have a lot of free tips and tools. And thank you for watching. Have a good day.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Child Care Genius podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please do us a favor and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a future episode. Don't forget to visit our website at childcaregenius.com to see a list of services we offer to help grow your child care business. Until next time, thank you for being a part of the Child Care Genius community.